Hey everyone, as always Jarek here, and around a year ago I made a video of a mod called Doom 3 Phobos. If you haven't seen that video, I would recommend clicking up there to catch up to speed. But the thing that caught me off guard about that mod is that no one seemed to know it exists. I was the only one making content of it. When I tried to find information elsewhere, I found a few Let's Plays for when it first came out, and that was it. No news articles about it, no subreddit posts about it, nothing. Just me. This was really weird to me. Doom 3 Phobos is an incredibly high-quality, standalone mod for Doom 3 and Resurrection of Evil. I would definitely recommend playing it if you're even questioning if you should. It's been under development for an incredibly long time, about as long as Black Mesa since 2004, so they have opted into an episodic release, and they contacted me last week to see if I wanted to play episode 2 early. This mod is not out yet, but it will be very soon, within the next month or so. So it is important to mention right at the very beginning of this video that what you're seeing might change a little bit. The mod is basically done, but you'll probably see a few tweaks to make it play a little bit better. Quick note I'm adding in after I recorded this voiceover. I actually recorded an entire long play of this mod, uploaded it as unlisted, and sent it to the mod team, and gave them a few of my criticisms and complaints about the mod. I got a pretty detailed reply in an email discussing a few of the things they're going to be changing, so yeah, by the time you guys play this will be tweaked so most of the problems won't exist anymore. I'm going to quickly catch you up to speed for what's different in Doom 3 Phobos compared to Doom 3. As I said, Doom 3 Phobos is a standalone mod. It has an entirely new story, entirely new voice actors, and the weapons are very different. The weapons were the things that really stood out to me, because even though they use the same models as Doom 3, they function so differently that they're basically entirely new guns. The pistol can be spammed, it's actually useful, though the biggest change is the chain gun. Yep, it's a minigun. That's awesome. The one new model they added into the game was the shotgun. A lot of people thought Doom 3 shotgun was ugly, although I stand in my opinion by saying it's one of the most beautiful ugly things I've ever seen in my life, and I love it, but I understand the change to this shotgun model. It also functions differently. This thing just has way more range than base Doom 3 shotgun. Okay, so there you go. Very quick update into what Doom 3 Phobos Episode 1 was. However, Episode 2 comes to a few changes to Episode 1, most pretty minor. The shotgun got a totally new model. Now, it's the same design as the first model, but it looks significantly better. The textures on your hands are also higher quality now. They even included some smaller changes, like a new texture on the basketball. That was pretty neat. Someone should turn that into a sport. Episode 1 takes place during the events of Doom 3. However, unlike Doom 3, you are not a silent protagonist. You play as Sam. Sam is not a stoic marine. He is someone caught in the wrong place at the right time. And the combat is broken up occasionally with flashbacks that happened in Oregon growing up. And this is exactly how Episode 2 starts. One of these flashbacks in Oregon. Wait. I miss fresh air and blue skies. I live in Portland, and if you're unaware, Oregon is being devastated by wildfires. Devastated is a complete understatement to the situation. We have wildfires damn near every major metro area in Oregon. Medford, Roseburg, Eugene, Salem, Corvallis, Portland, all numerous separate wildfires completely out of control. We have entire towns burning down, 50,000 people evacuated, 500,000 in the evacuation zones. We're having to use lodges, community colleges, the Oregon Convention Center, the Expo Center, all these places to house people that are evacuating from their homes, who may not even have a home to go back to. The entire state has been completely covered in smoke to the point of where even basic services like garbage pickup have been canceled until it goes away. We currently have 10 dead, many more missing. All these numbers are going to change by the time you see this video, but not for the better. All of this hits very differently when it's your home. I was born and raised in Portland, Oregon. I've gone camping once a month my entire life. I'm very acquainted with these towns that are burning down. I'm very acquainted with all the devastation happening around me. And it sucks. It sucks to watch. I put a few links down below in the video information where you can donate and help. Oregon is going to need anything it can get. It's going to have to quite literally rebuild people's lives. Okay, sorry for getting real with the depressing situation we're in, but let's go back to the mod. Believe it or not, this is Doom 3. If it didn't have a few of the Doom 3 assets like that cabinet, or if I didn't tell you this, you might not even notice. Obviously, Mars does not look like Oregon. When I said this is a standalone mod, I really meant it. Entirely new assets and a lot of work went into this. It didn't necessarily update Doom 3's engine to look more modern. There's a lot of mods that make Doom 3 look very good, but this was meant to be more of just a standalone mod. Although I would say it does still look better than base Doom 3. The new assets they use look very clean and fit the environment. Now, as I said, this mod has entirely new voice acting, which may leave you concerned. Mod voice acting is usually pretty god-awful. Thankfully, in this case, it's surprisingly good. I don't think it's AAA level voice acting, but it could definitely be passed off as a AA title. These flashbacks take place between the main character, Sam, and one of his friends, Lee. It's also written particularly well. The friendly banter between these two sounds like a genuine conversation two friends would have. And the same thing applies to the other end of the spectrum. When things get serious, the voice acting fits.
All she did was lie in bed, looking at me. And there I was, looking back at her, hoping it was a smile behind those eyes, hoping she wasn't in pain, hoping she didn't think of me as a complete failure, that her family hadn't abandoned her in her worst hour.
These flashbacks will also have some rather trippy moments every now and again. As for when you're on Mars, Sam is mostly just trying to figure out how to escape the situation he was thrusted into. Your main form of contact is through a woman named Samantha. Now you may remember in my video about episode 1 I said this. Said voice calls that display Samantha to you through a very odd piece of art. I'm not sure why they chose this image to use for Samantha in video calls. I assume they didn't want to create another character model because you never actually see her in game. But if this is the route you're going to take, you probably should have art that fits the game better than whatever this is. It doesn't affect the gameplay negatively, but it definitely pulls me out of the game and breaks immersion. It just seems very inconsistent with the art style of the game at large. Well, the mod team listened to that advice, and now the portrait looks like this. This is a big improvement to me, as it looks a lot more fitting for the rest of the game. Now let's move on to the gameplay. You will need Doom 3 and Resurrection of Evil installed to play this mod. BFG Edition does not count and will not work. I don't recommend buying it anyway, because Doom 3 greatly benefits from mods, and BFG Edition is compatible with almost none of them. Unless you're buying BFG Edition just for the VR mod, which admittingly is pretty cool, but totally separate. I played it a bit, it's actually really cool, but I'm having problems getting it to swap weapons correctly, so I stopped playing it. Back on topic, needing Resurrection of Evil gives you access to a few of the enemies that you wouldn't see in base Doom 3, and this mod does use them. I also find it interesting that this mod uses that flaming zombie enemy more than base Doom 3, which was literally once. Running off of Resurrection of Evil also means that you get access to the double barrel. Hell yes! Now you might think that this double barrel just completely invalidates the base shotgun, because that's kind of how it worked in Doom 3 Resurrection of Evil, but that's not true here. This double barrel hasn't really changed. It functions as the ultimate fuck you to anything within 5 feet. But keep in mind, the shotgun in Doom 3 Phobos has a bit more range than base Doom 3. At medium range, it's actually still more useful than the double barrel. At least medium range for the confined areas of Doom 3, you know what I mean. So if you're in a situation with numerous imps running at you, the regular shotgun is honestly your better option, not the double barrel. And in very similar ways, every weapon in the game has its own function. Nothing replaces anything else. The chain gun is a massive DPS dealer at closer ranges, whereas the machine gun is better at longer ranges. It also is better for dealing with smaller enemies because you're not going to waste chain gun ammo on just an imp. The one complaint I do have about the weapons is that you get the plasma gun rather late. It's kind of a nitpick to say this, you still get a lot of time to use it, so I can't really complain. Now there's still a lot more new content, keep in mind, but the last bit of new content I wanted to mention is that you get to fight an Arachnotron, and that's awesome. So as far as the graphics, weapons, voice acting, and story goes, this mod is really well done. But not everything is perfect, and I do have some complaints. Keep in mind that the modders are listening to my complaints, so by the time you play this, it might be totally different and all of these complaints will probably have been fixed. The reason I'm mentioning these problems is because I think it's a really good insight into where game development goes, where everything is basically done, but you just need a little bit more playtesting to make it finished. I'm serving as sort of the last bit of playtesting, I guess, if you wanted to put it that way. Anyway, my biggest complaint about this mod is that I got lost a lot. A lot of these things you definitely will not have to deal with, as something as small as putting a light near the switch that I just wasn't able to see would fix the problem entirely. Here I got lost wandering around forever, even though I had pushed a button that opened a vent right next to me, but I just couldn't see it. And just doing something as small as making the player look that direction a little bit more fixes that problem entirely. But one of the genuine complaints I did have with this mod is that there are quite a few puzzles that I just didn't really find very fun. This is a subjective opinion, but when it comes to a Doom-like experience, I don't think puzzles should play that big of an impact on the gameplay experience. For example, this level is quite maze-like, and you're going to need to change the fuel level so you can walk through the fuel containers to get to where you need to go. The problem is, I don't know where that is I need to go to begin with. And in my more subjective opinion, a puzzle like this is not really fun. This belongs in a newspaper, not a Doom game. I'm sorry for being mean, I know the mod team is watching this. But this puzzle has more problems because I don't really know what's happening when I'm adjusting these fuel levels. You could have a really easy fix here. You could simply put another monitor right next to the puzzle that shows you the fuel draining in real time and the door that you need to access to leave, so you know what you're actually doing instead of just pushing buttons blindly. These issues are very small. Like I said, they're probably going to be ironed out before you even get it on launch. I will say I think I enjoyed episode 1 more than episode 2. Not to make me say episode 2 is bad by any means, it's still fun, but episode 1 was a lot more linear, straightforward of an experience. It was mostly about atmosphere and shooting enemies, and less about puzzles and getting lost. To me, I think a shooter experience should be a lot more about combat and atmosphere rather than puzzles. Puzzles should only really show up to break up combat so it doesn't get too repetitive, but I don't think it's that necessary in this mod. The flashbacks already do that. And as a reminder, linear is not bad. I see people use the word linear negatively a lot, but linear can be great as long as it's not scripted. There's a very big difference between a linear experience like Half-Life, which everyone loves, and a linear experience like the Call of Duty campaigns, which are so scripted they might as well be movies. Doom 3 Phobos is thankfully not what the Call of Duty campaigns do. It allows you to explore and go at your own pace, even if that means getting lost. Call of Duty campaigns are this scripted because they don't have the time to iron out these bugs, and it's harder to get people lost. The game is just yelling at you as to what you need to do all the time. Anyway, I'm starting to rant. The main point is that Doom 3 Phobos is really good. Just like episode 1 was, episode 2 is also very polished. A few little tweaks and it'll be ready to be launched. Both episode 1 and 2 are around 3 hours long, so you're getting roughly 6 hours of playtime out of this mod. I would highly recommend downloading it on launch when it comes out. But that sums up about everything I wanted to say about this mod. Big thanks goes out to the mod team that sent this to me early so I can get an early video for you guys to watch. Another big thanks goes to people that join me over on Twitch. My Twitch is twitch.tv/JarekTheGamingDragon. If you subscribe, you get to see my videos ahead of time. Same thing with my patrons over on patreon.com/Jarek4. Thank all of you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.